Jason Foxy Radio, where we discuss the unidentified, the unexplainable, paranormal, conspiracies, and much more. Starring your host and co-host, Jenny Nicasio, Sean Kelly, and Jason Sledgehammer and Petro. Brought to you by UPRN Network. Now for your host, Jenny Nicasio.
Jenny, you're on mute.
The intro is playing. On my end, the entry is playing. Is it playing for you guys?
Already played.
Yeah, we're live.
Oh my goodness, I don't know why it was doing it twice. Good evening and welcome to Jason Prophecy Radio on the UPR Radio Network on FM 105.3 in New Orleans, where we discuss anything and everything beyond the scope of normal. I'm Jenny Nicasio, along with my co-host Sean Kelly, Jason and Petro, and our guest co-host John Ventry, Ghost.
I'm not a ghost yet.
He's a UFOer.
I'm not a ghost.
He's the UFO ghost master or something like that.
It's gonna be one of those nights for sure. Yeah, we have an interesting show tonight. But before we introduce our guests, Sean has a couple of things he likes to talk about.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I just want to tell everybody that after 17 years of ghost hunting, I'm retiring as of November 1st.
Oh.
And I'm going to relax. So that was the biggie. Jason,
what really happened at Hinsdale House that you're retiring?
Does this have anything to do with Jason's new group?
Oh, hell no. Not at all. No, it's time to give it to the younger people.
Well, there you go.
Who's it going to, Sean?
What's that?
Who's it going to?
Yeah.
Just shutting her down altogether. What you got going on?
I'm just going to shut it down for a while. I might bring it up in January. I'm not sure. But I'm still keeping Pittsburgh Paranormal Society, the Facebook page, but as of...
And your trademark, you do have that licensed trademark for Pittsburgh Paranormal, is that correct?
It's in the paperwork right now.
Well, good.
It's in the paperwork right now. So I just had enough.
Well, you know when to quit when you're ahead. That's what I say. Always stop when you're ahead on top.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, and I know Jason and his team will do an awesome job. And, and I just hey, give it to them. Not everybody talk at one time here.
You had a good run.
Yes, I did.
How many years?
17.
Wow. Yeah, you said that. Yeah, 17.
17 years. So it's not bittersweet either. It's a decision I came up with today after doing some seriously thinking and doing some serious meditation.
Did I have anything to do with it with my serious thinking?
No one has not. Okay. No one. This was all on my decision. But people still want to message us. And if they need help with a question or some sort, I'd be more than happy to answer it for them. But as of actually doing the investigations, I'm done.
I'm sorry to hear that you're going.
Don't be sorry. Please don't. I mean, like you said, I had a good run.
Well, the ghosts are happy. The ghosts are happy you leave them.
Probably.
You're so funny, John.
This way, no more harassment.
Now they got to
chat
deal.
Get shut down altogether.
What's that?
Did the chat get shut down altogether?
Yeah, I shut it all down.
Because I seen Val was made an admin, but my team all got deleted. So
no, the whole thing. I shut it all down. You can't get rid of the name.
No, that's yours.
Yeah,
that's yours, Pittsburgh.
You can't get rid of the name, but you can't get rid of the message chat. But I got rid of everybody.
The ghosts are dancing in the cemetery. I can hear
them. I'm sure they are.
Wow. Well, we'll discuss this a little bit more towards the end of the show. But in the meantime, I want to introduce our guest tonight, who we had on the show. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think how long ago. It wasn't that long ago. But tonight we have Margie Kay. She is a veteran 40-year-old, not a 40-year-old, 40-year paranormal investigator. She might be 30. She is the owner and CEO of the UnX Network and the UnX Media Publishing Company. She serves as the Assistant State Director for Missouri MUFON and the Director of the Oz Interdimensional Communication Institute. That sounds so cool. She is a licensed, oh wow, I'd like to pick your brain on this one. She is a licensed private investigator in Missouri and owns and operates Forensic Investigation. Margie has completed over 570 UFO investigations for MUFON and over 1,700 paranormal and UFO investigations on her own. That's impressive. Kay is a self-taught psychic, medium, and remote viewer. I'd like to discuss that more, and has helped to solve over 60 homicides, theft, and missing person cases for law enforcement, private investigators, and individuals in the U.S., South America, Europe. And she also assists, I know this is impressive, she also assists other investigators with unsolved UFO and paranormal cases. Margie's natural abilities were enhanced by extraterrestrial, oh my God, what am I reading here? Thor. Oh, I have to. Well, this is crazy.
Thor?
Thor,
yes.
Who visits her from first time in 1985. Kay sees and speaks to dead people. My goodness. Extraterrestrials and interdimensional beings. And Margie owns and operates X Media Publishing Company and publishes books by other authors as well as her own. She is an accomplished classical string bass player too, jazz fusion electric bass player. Wow. And worked as a professional musician for 20 years. Margie, where in the heck do you find the time to do all this?
It's difficult.
God. And there's more and more and more and more. I can't even go on to say all this stuff. And she's written so many books. And that's why I found the one about the Kansas City UFO flaps. But before we get into all this, I want to please welcome Margie Kay to Chasing Prophecy. Again, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be back.
Wow, Margie. Wow. Where in the heck do you find the time?
Yeah.
I'm obsessed a little bit with things, and I just don't sleep. I just got things running through my mind all the time. And I've just had to live with it because that's the way I am.
I used to be like that a long time ago. But let's get started. Wherever you want to start talking, we can talk about the Kansas City UFO flops. What are they? Where exactly is it? And what does it mean?
Well, the book that you mentioned is about the Kansas City UFO flaps that happened in 2011 and 2012, that mainly focusing on that time period, although I have quite a few others in there that are later and going back to 1897. But we are currently in a UFO flap. And I looked today, we have about 85 sightings, 80 sightings in the last 90 days in the greater Kansas City area, but also across the state. So it's focusing on Kansas City and Cape Girardeau, but also St. Louis, and then some other just random places all over the entire state. And for us, that's unusual because when we have a flap, which is a lot of sightings in a short period of time, it usually focuses in one area and not the entire state. But right now, that is what's going on. It started in Kansas City on August 10th. We had multiple sighting reports from the same area north of Kansas City, Smithville, Cameron, some small towns. And several of those actually turned out to be Starlink satellites. And we figured that out 100%, that we know that was what it was. And that was about 8 of those sightings. So we still have a lot that are unsolved, that are different. And what also makes it unusual is that these sightings people are having are very strange. It's not normal craft. It's not your normal disc-shaped UFO craft at all. They are in one case, a woman was watching a ball of light, and this was in a very rural area, that just appeared in her trees and was moving around her trees. And she's like, what the heck is that thing? It was a bright red light. And she kept watching it, and pretty soon it started coming towards her and then stopped right outside of her window. And the odd thing was it remained the same size the entire time, about the size of a golf ball. It didn't get bigger as it came forward, closer to her, which I thought was very odd. And it illuminated the inside of the house. So it was definitely there. And then, to her surprise, after watching this for some time and seeing it move very, very slowly, it shot straight up and was gone in half a second. We've had some other strange ones in Independence. We had 2 different witnesses on a couple of days apart from each other, where they thought they were looking at satellites. And then in one case, this was a nurse who saw this. She saw 4 satellites go by, and then she saw a 5th one go by, but then it stopped and it shot off at a 90-degree angle at incredible speed and was gone. So we could rule that out as a satellite. And then the second sighting was even more strange, because this witness saw what he thought was a large, bright satellite, only bigger than a satellite, moving along. And then he saw a flash of light and a circle open in the sky. The object went into it and disappeared, and the circle closed, and the light went out. And he called me, right? This is my brother, actually. He called me and he says, you're not going to believe what I just saw. Explains it to me. And I said, boy, that sounds like a portal opening, especially with that flash, because a lot of people are reporting things like that. And so we got off the phone. 20 minutes later, he was so curious about this that he kept watching the skies instead of going in the house. Another one came along and disappeared, and in the exact same location did the exact same thing. And I do know that, I mean, not only in Missouri, but in other states, we're having these reports of a circle open up, or something that looks like a cloud, but it's in a circle shape, and something comes out of it or goes into it, but then you can't see it on the other side. So that leads me to believe that we're looking at some type of a portal opening, an interdimensional opening.
The circle.
Margie, can these be a hologram that the government's testing, and they're just testing it, and that's why everybody is seeing it?
Oh, I'm open to anything. It could be anything. We just don't know what it is, but certainly with the technology that the government has now, they could no doubt create something like that. And there's also a lot of people who think that there's a false flag event coming, and that some of these things are actually holograms, making people think that there are UFOs that are, possibly.
Wasn't that Blue Beam?
Yeah, Project Blue Book.
Blue Beam.
Blue Beam.
Yeah, well, the government seems anxious to disclose UFOs, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's holograms, but it's, this is, I think, our technology. When I meet that alien, then I'm going to say, that's it. Right now, I don't trust the Pentagon. And all of a sudden, they're so anxious to say UFOs are real. They're covering our technology, I believe.
Oh, yeah. And I 100% believe that the triangular craft are ours.
Yeah, they are. That's a TR-3B.
I've got too many witnesses that have had them be very, very close, and they can actually see inside.
You mean the ones like in Phoenix?
Well, not so much. That was like a boomerang. That wasn't a triangular craft. Yeah. The triangles are solid black triangles, usually with a light underneath each corner and maybe a red light in the center. But some of my witnesses have had them come so close that they can see inside the windows, and they see men in military uniforms. They don't see ETs in them.
Margie, do you remember the Bucks County case from 2008? It made a couple of TV shows, but that one, Denise, remember the woman with the metallic sprinkles in the tree?
Yes, I
UFOs
do.
Over Earth, the MUFON show. Well, years later when we discovered the TR3B, the Aurora Project, it was exactly what she described. So although at the time she thought this was alien and a UFO, well, it is unidentified, description, what you just said, 3 lights and a red dot in the center, was exactly what she saw in 2008. So that was ours.
Well, something similar to that happened in Independence here. A woman saw a UFO, and this was the typical disc-shaped UFO, come down very close to her and hover right over her yard. And this was not an uncommon thing for her. She sees them quite often. In fact, I saw an NET while I was on her property investigating. Yeah. And he appeared just, 2 feet from me. And then she pulled out a camera and she says, "Did it look like this?" And she scrolled through the pictures, and here is that exact same ET, or what looked like it, standing next to a tree in her yard that she had taken a week earlier.
What did it look like?
Oh, do you remember the movie Paul with the short ET?
Yeah.
Kind of funny guy. It really reminded me of that. It had tan colored skin, bald head, big eyes, but not gigantic big eyes, just a little bit bigger than ours, thin nose and mouth. And this was absolutely hysterical. This case, we had been out there for about 3 hours, and there were 4 investigators and the witness. And we were on the site. We found this light in the sky. We'd been seeing things all night. But this one kept moving around just real slowly moving, and it was big. It was, like 5 times the size of a planet. And we're sitting there watching, trying to figure out what this thing is, when I think that the investigator who's standing to my right had bent over with his bald head. And I just, in my peripheral vision, I thought that's what I saw. And I turned to look, and it was an ET. And he was also looking at the light in the sky with us. And he just kept looking straight ahead. And I jumped out of the chair, and I'm like, what the heck was that? Tell me you guys saw that. And nobody saw it. And so we went back, sat down, and it happened again, exactly the same way. And then the third time it happened, this little guy turned to me and gives me a real smirky smile. Like, yeah, I'm here. And I'm looking at what that is in the sky too. I mean, it was funny, but also it was a little unnerving to me. And I figured out why he disappeared. And that was because of my consciousness. I had been tired, and, I'm psychic. I'm a remote viewer. And I put myself in a light trance state when I want to see something or remote view something. And I had been in that kind of state of mind. So here he is. He, a fifth dimensional creature, which is what I think we have all these dimensions, but we're using up the same space. And he's standing there in that dimension. And I was just able to catch him a couple of times. Now, if I hadn't have been unnerved by it at all, if I'd been more relaxed, I probably could have had some communication with him. And so that bothers me to this day that I did that I reacted that way.
Did anyone else see it, or were you the only one who saw it that 3 times?
Nobody else saw it except the witness had seen him before on her property and had pictures of it in her house, looking out her window and next to the tree. And it would look like the same one.
Yeah. It's funny. A lot of UFO cases, not everybody sees it, just one person. And a lot of times that's just telepathic. They picked you out. You're the ones. It probably wasn't even really there. It was just put in your head. But that's how they operate.
Yeah. Well, it's happened to me a number of times. I've seen several ETs, including Valiant Thor.
What does he look like?
Well, he looks like he's about 30 years old, and he doesn't ever change appearance. Dark hair, about 6 feet tall, something like that. And the first time I saw him was in 1985 in Seattle, Washington, where I was living at the time. I had gone to see my massage therapist. And once again, after the massage, I was put in this light trance state, right? Mm-hmm. We're getting ready to leave. I had my brother and my 2 kids with me because we were going to go to the Seattle Fish Market after I saw the therapist. And all of a sudden, this guy says to me in a voice that's not his voice, "Would you like to do a light experiment?" And I immediately caught on that something was going on. So I said, "Sure, I'll try that." And so he had these 2 lights. One was a green light, one was a red light, great big lights. And he said, "Look at the green one first." And then he turned that off. He had me look at the red one, went back a couple of times. Then he says, "Now what do you see?" And I looked up at him, and all I saw was his skeleton standing there. It was him, but I could only see his skeleton, nothing else. And I'm trying to process what the heck is going on. Mm-hmm. When all of a sudden on the wall, excuse me, this face appears.
You all right?
It's Val. He's choking.
Sorry. Somebody doesn't want me to tell this.
Val
and
it's the Torture Tuesday gremlins.
Yeah,
Yes.
Sorry about that. And he has a helmet on, so I don't see his hair, but a helmet comes to a point, comes down in front of his ears, and I just see his head, and he says, "I am Thor, and we are going to be doing work together, and now you have X-ray vision." And he said, "I'll be in touch with you soon," and he's gone. And I look back at the therapist, and he's back to normal. I looked over at my brother and my kids. I said, "Tell me you guys just saw that." And they said, "Saw what?" They did not experience that at all. Nobody heard anything or saw anything except me.
Did Val have his companions there, like the 3 from the 1950s?
No, he did not. Case? Not at the time. No.
Okay.
And it took me years. He appeared to me a few other times, and then he would speak to me telepathically and he had me do certain things. He actually had me start the magazine, write some books, start the network, things like that. This is all Val Thor's doing that he asked me to do to get the word out about things. And he has actually saved my life a few times. When I was very, very ill, he was there. He appeared and absolutely saved my life. There's no other explanation for it.
Did you get a look at his hands at all? Because he claims he has no fingerprints.
No, I did. I have not been able to examine his hands. They do speak to me mostly telepathically and not appearing in person, except that I have been able to remote view and also astral travel to Victor 1 to his ship. And they have taken me on a tour in the ship several times. I've been in and I've spoken to the crew, and they showed me their propulsion system and explained how some things work with that. They explained that there's they use 2 means of propulsion, one when they're in Earth's atmosphere and one when they're out of it. And when they're out of it, they have to use something that also creates photons. So that creates the lights around the ships. And that is why we see these ships that are high up, we see them lit up, and it's because of it's a kind of a side effect of their propulsion system.
Do they still claim they're from Venus, under the ground in Venus?
He has mentioned that to other people I know, but he's never told me that. But I did remote view, and I see that is more like a stopping point, that he was really from a much further away to begin with, and then was actually directed to be here in this area after Venus and to come here to Earth. And he's still here today and has other contactees as well.
So he's been seen by many people.
I don't know how many, but there are people who have seen
And he
him.
doesn't. He looks like a normal person. He has dark
Yes.
hair. He doesn't
Looks
look like
like
he's an ET. He just looks like
No.
one of us.
There's a
Yep, just-
picture of him if
So
you
with
look up.
the gift of
Where?
X-ray
I want to
vision
see.
that
I mean, if you wanna
you
pull it up.
received, have you been able to use that
His name
anymore
is Val
since then?
Thor.
Thor, yeah.
I couldn't hear all of that, Jay. What did you say?
Jay has a question.
I was just wondering, you were talking about that you got gifted with X-ray vision.
Yes.
Have you been able to use that since then,
yeah.
or anything of that nature?
Yeah, I've always been psychic, but this gave me a boost like you wouldn't believe. I didn't understand what that meant until I just gradually came to know what it was. And when I would be doing a reading for someone, all of a sudden I could see inside their body, and it's just like taking a picture inside the body, even better than an MRI or a CAT scan. And I can look at bones, I can look at tissues and organs and things like that, and find where there are problem areas, the spine, find problem areas, if there's a herniated disc, or if there's been an injury or a break or something like that. I can see it. And then I can also now look into microscopically look at the blood. But since I don't have medical training, all I do is tell people what I see. And sometimes I will get a message as to what the problem might be, but other times I might not. And then they will I'll suggest they go see a health practitioner,
right,
to get diagnosed for that and find out what the problem is. And in one case, a woman had been told by her doctor that she had cancer, lung cancer, and she was a friend of my mother's, and they were, kind of panicked. She said, "Would you look at it?" And I said, "No, I just see inflammation. There's no cancer there." She goes to another specialist and gets tested, and it wasn't cancer. It was just an inflammation of the lung.
Can you tell us Jay's eye color?
Oh, there you go.
He's got glasses on. Come on, tell us his eye color. Well, here's pictures of Val Thor. Is this the guy you saw?
Yeah, that's Val Thor. Yes. Yeah.
So he's an alien. He's from a different planet.
Oh,
I
my
let her
God.
planet.
I let
And
her
his
off the
whole
hook
crew.
with Jay's eyes, but here you go.
Lord help me.
Well, how come he
Yeah.
doesn't look like he said he's a spaceship? He has a suit on. I mean,
Well, because they dress for the company that they're in, and most of these pictures are from 1957 at Dr. Howard Menger's home
In Jersey.
he's a
in
nice
New
looking
Jersey.
alien.
Yeah, he is. He's very good looking.
wonder
That's
if
his
he's
brother
single
next
for
to him,
Jenny.
Dawn.
Son of a.
He never ages,
Very
Jen.
good, Jenny.
Yeah.
It's like a
There you go,
vampire,
Jen.
never age.
Why are
You
you
asked
such
me
a
about
smart
eye
ass?
color. I have to put myself in a light trance state to look, but I will if you want me to
Do
really
it.
look.
Do it.
Okay.
Jay's eye color?
Oh man,
There we go.
I'm seeing a deep blue green.
should I reveal the answer?
Take your
Yes.
glasses
Go ahead.
off.
I don't care if it's right
I
or
don't
wrong.
know
Go
if you
ahead.
can see it, but they're brown.
I can't. They're brown.
Yes.
Okay. I was wrong. It's much easier for me when I can really concentrate and put myself in a trance state. It's a whole different level of consciousness, and then go out and look. And the other thing that makes it much easier for me is if there's some emotion around an event, such as a homicide or a missing person. There's going to be a lot of emotion and a lot of psychic energy around that. It's going to be much easier for me to pick it up.
Jen,
So
can you
for
put
what
that
it's worth,
picture
a
back
few
up?
years back, I had blue and black contact lenses that I used when I played on stage. It was pretty cool. Like they were like a
Okay.
bright,
Why
thick
did you
blue.
do that?
Yeah.
It was
Blue
cool.
and boy.
It was cool. I still have them. I should put them in for one of the upcoming shows.
I would go
That would
with
be
like
cool.
white contact lenses.
See, I thought
Oh,
about that, but I wanted
I
it
look
to
like I'm
just be something
blind.
that really popped
Why
out.
do you?
Jay,
That's
do you
not
have
very
a picture
attractive,
on you
John.
now with your eyes?
I'd have to look around it on my old band's page, but I mean, it was blue.
You see the three people in the center, whether you're looking, it's the same picture in black and white and color. You
Which
see
one?
that?
This
Yeah.
one?
The
Or
black
this
and
one?
white one?
Well, the black and white, or 2 boxes over there in color. It's the same picture basically.
These two.
Yeah, that picture they tried to authenticate, and they tried to find out who the photographer was. They could not find out who took the picture, and then they tried to find out who are these other 2 people in the picture, the blonde-haired lady and the guy who looks a lot like Val Thor, could be his brother. And they have never been able to identify the 3 people. Let's say it's just a random photo that they took and said, here's Val Thor and his 2 associates. Nobody has been able to identify who those 3 people and who the photographer was. So it's kind of interesting.
Actually, John, I know who the photographer was. I'm writing a book about Val Thor, and that's going to come out.
All right, there you go.
And I know who the other 2 people are. One of them is Don, his brother.
Oh, it looks like him, definitely.
Yeah. So he has this Val Thor's brother, Don.
Yeah.
They're on Earth.
Yeah.
Now they can transport to their spaceship.
Well, they usually stay in their spaceship, but yeah. And
do you think this Val Thor's what we're seeing in Missouri? Maybe. Are they related?
No, not related.
But he is an extraterrestrial, and he comes to Earth, and he communicates with people like you to spread the word of
what the purpose is. And I'll just give it to you in a nutshell. He seeks out people who can help other people raise their consciousness, raise their level of consciousness. And that is their main purpose here on the planet.
Why?
Is to help raise the consciousness of the planet so that we quit having wars and fighting, and raise our awareness level, and just basic improvement.
Are you able to call upon him?
Spiritual.
If you wanted to say something to him, could you?
Yes.
Call upon him.
I have actually channeled him. I channeled him at Unity Temple on the Plaza in front of 300 people. I did a channeling session, which is something I normally don't do. In fact, I didn't even believe in it until it happened to me shortly before that.
You should tell him to have a conversation with Putin. And I know he likes to use holograms, because that's what he did with Eisenhower, right? And Nixon. Was it Eisenhower or Truman? I don't remember. And
Eisenhower and Nixon.
And Nixon, yeah, he used holograms. They thought he was in his room reading, and he was actually back on the ship. But he needs to, if he's going to raise consciousness, tell him to get with Putin and raise his consciousness from the gutter to a little bit higher.
Yeah, they have their own timeline, and they do things in their own way. I can't tell them what.
Would be a place to go, because Putin is disrupting the whole planet right now.
That 3rd person in that picture, the one in all in white, now that could be an alien, because
that's a woman.
Blonde?
Well, the woman, yeah, whatever. She could be an alien. She didn't look really healthy.
Back then in the 50s, everybody was thinner.
No, they were a little bit more. They were a little bit more.
They were all thin, I tell you, man.
They were a little bit curvier. There's a lot of videos on this good dude, so it seems like there's so many people that actually see him.
Yeah, I know of several people who have had contact with him, including Craig Campobasso, the Hollywood producer and casting director, and he wrote the short film Stranger at the Pentagon, which is, if you Google that, Stranger at the Pentagon, it'll come up. And he's hoping to do a full featured length film called Stranger at the Pentagon. The book was written by Dr. Frank E. Stranges, and under the same name. And if you can get a hold of one of those, that will give you the basics for him being here on the planet, and his relationship with Dr. Stranges. Dr. Stranges was actually at the Pentagon meeting with Val Thor, and then they became friends, and he was friends with him for the rest of his life.
Does he have anything to do with Ashtar?
Not that I know of.
I'm sorry.
Ashtar is a lot of people see this
blonde hair guy dressed in blue.
Yeah.
He's on a ship.
Yeah, they may have some connection. All I know is that he is a commander, because at one point he called himself Commander Thor, and I'm like, oh wow, okay. And he has a fleet of craft that are around the entire planet. He showed me a vision of this, and of course they must be cloaking themselves. And they're out of ways from the planet. I don't know how far, but they're. And another one of their purposes is to help protect the planet from extraterrestrials who would want to do us harm. Now, there are other races here, he tells me, and there are many who have been here since before humans. A lot of them lived underground. A lot of them go in and out of mountains. If they don't look human, they will be in places like that. But then he said there are also other races that look like human beings, and they're walking among us. And some would pass for human, or they might look just a little bit strange, but people wouldn't think too much of it. And they're here studying us. Some of them are using our planet for resources and minerals. A lot of them take crystals from the ground, and I think that's a lot of what's going on at the Board Camp Crystal Mine in Mena, Arkansas, where I investigated. And they've seen a lot of craft in that area, and levitating rocks and things. And I remote viewed it, and I saw them taking crystals out of the ground.
Huh.
Do you agree at all with Dr. David Jacobs' theories that they're very malevolent, and they're doing a hybrid program, that they've got people in the government and politics, CEOs, and they're basically going to take the planet from us at some point? He's got a very negative view of this whole thing with these aliens. What do you think about that?
I think there are some negative ETs who do have plans like that, and I think actually some of them have taken over the consciousness of some human beings, because I've seen some strange things, like you're looking someone in the eye, on television, and their eye shifts to a reptilian eye and then goes back to normal. So I do believe there's some of that, but my personal experiences have all been positive, except for a couple. And I think reptilians were involved in that. But all of my other experiences have been very positive. I've had healing by different types of ETs. I don't know where they came from. They didn't speak to me. They were just appeared and were working on me, and then they disappeared, and I've never seen them again. But I'm of the belief that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different races and types. And the other thing is, I think most of these are coming interdimensionally, that they're right there and they just open a portal and come in, and they're not traveling billions of miles or light years away all the time to get here. I think they've been here for a long time, and they just pop in and out when they want to.
I agree. I think the interdimensional is the answer. I don't believe that they travel trillions of miles. I don't believe that at all.
What's your thoughts, since we're on UFOs and interdimensionals? We've had this topic before with a lot of different psychics and mediums and UFO MUFON. And what do you think about Bigfoot intertwined with UFOs interdimensionally? When you see one, you see the other. What's your input on that?
Oh yeah. Not only Bigfoot, but some other creatures as well. But I've got a couple of cases where there would be a Bigfoot sighting, and the next day there is a gigantic UFO sighting, or there's balls of light around, or all three of those things going on at the same time. Another case I can think of is a couple of farmers came over a hill, and they're looking down at a pond, and they see a UFO landed, and they see a Bigfoot walking with an ET around the pond. There has to be a connection there. Another case in Grandview, Missouri, a woman was out taking pictures and she saw a deceased or dying Bigfoot with two little children that were just too perfect, little blonde-haired boy and girl, holding this massive Bigfoot, his head and shoulders, which she found to be, it looked impossible. And then she saw a woman with long dark hair sitting up in the tree watching the scene. And then a spaceship lands to her right, and an older gentleman gets out, looks human, starts walking over to the Bigfoot, and he looks at her and sees that she is looking right at him in the eye. And he says, "You can see me?" She goes, "Yeah, I can see you."
Surprise.
He comes right over to her and talks to her. And he says, "I'm the elder. And what you are witnessing is a Bigfoot who has been severely injured because he was protecting you." She says, "Protecting me from what?" He said, "Get your camera out and look at your pictures." And she looked and she saw over to the left two large male Bigfoot holding back a gigantic dog man with fangs.
Wow.
He was coming after her. And the three of those, he killed the one Bigfoot and the other two were holding him back. And she was astonished. And this is a woman, she has a degree in psychiatry. She's a psychiatrist. And she was just absolutely shaking when she's telling me this story. And she said, "I don't know why." She was suddenly had the idea to go out and start taking pictures in the woods, and she kind of got to know this Bigfoot clan, and they would come and let her see them once in a while, not come up close, but they would be up in the trees, or they would come close and let her see. And then this is what happened. And so and this elder explained to her that those Bigfoot were there guarding a portal, which is where the spaceship came from, and keeping these dogmen out of it. They did not want the dogmen coming to their world. I mean, it sounds like this is the craziest thing you would ever think of.
Hey, Margie, did she send you pictures of them? Did she send you the pictures?
She sent me pictures. She did not give me permission to show them to anyone else, but I have seen them.
Okay.
You know what's interesting, Margie? I was at a conference 10 days ago up in Punxsutawney, PA. And there was a guy there. He said to me, "Do you know why Bigfoot's here?" And I said, "Why?" And he said they came with the aliens, and they would protect the aliens from dinosaurs. That's how long they've been here. So when you say they protected against a dog man, that falls right in line with what this guy was saying. They were here to protect the aliens from dinosaurs.
And he did.
Other creatures, you know.
Yeah, he did also say that they brought the Bigfoot here to our planet.
That's interesting.
That is.
Yeah, all the way back to the dinosaurs. That's
yeah.
Wow.
And probably, saber-tooth tigers, all of those things. Anything that could attack. The Bigfoot's job was to protect the aliens from being attacked. I don't know if they left them behind.
Is that why they don't? Bigfoot don't attack people?
Well, they do. There aren't a lot of cases of them killing people. They do abduct females, apparently able to mate with them, but they'll try to scare people away by throwing stones at them. If you have a cabin and if you were out hunting them, let's say, they'll be known to come at night and shake the whole cabin, or they throw rocks against it and you don't ever come back again. But I don't think, Margie, there's not a lot of cases of Bigfoots killing people, right?
Not that I know of. I think there used to be more than there are now. And there's a lot of information from Native Americans where you would hear about someone being abducted by, and usually a female being abducted and taken away, but sometimes a man. I mean, there was a story not too long ago where a man said he was picked up in his sleeping bag by something huge and taken for miles and miles and miles in the woods and then let out. And there was a whole Bigfoot family there, and they kept him and then until he finally figured out a way to escape. But I think that's few and far between. And oddly enough, through a UFO investigation, someone asked me to remote view because it was a Bigfoot related thing. They had seen a Bigfoot first. And so I thought, I wonder if there really was a Bigfoot there. So I remote viewed it and I saw a Bigfoot family, a male and a female who was giving birth at the time, and then another child there with her. And then months later, after reading a book by Kiwani called The Psychic Sasquatch, I thought, okay, maybe I could have telepathic communication with this Bigfoot that I saw. And he immediately responded to me, and we had a conversation, and we've had multiple conversations since. And then he introduced me to the elder of the clan and the clan shaman, who's also their chief, and it's a female. And she has worked on me, healing me along with her two sons as she's training to be a shaman multiple times in my house, standing in my house. Now, I know that sounds completely bizarre, but it has just become normal to me. And, that's going in a book as well, this relationship. But I never would have even thought to try it if I hadn't have read Kiwani's book.
Yeah, I think the Native Americans used to trade with the Bigfoot. That they would trade goods with them. That was some of the stories also.
Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of stories.
Missing 411, David Politis says I think he is coming out with a new documentary next month that Bigfoot is the one who's taking all the missing people. Like you said, they take them and put them somewhere else in the, I guess, what they call clans.
Okay, my question
about
to
Bigfoot.
You. What's that?
So if a Bigfoot gives birth, does that mean the little one's called Littlefoot by chance?
Probably is, because some people have seen tracks of big ones and little ones.
Jen, back to your question about 411. The first guy with the documentary I saw, do you think he just picked them up and carried them away? Would there not be any sign of like Bigfoot, their feet, hair, whatever?
Yeah, I think a lot of times with David Politis, these people disappear. Kids walking with a family, walking behind you, they turn around, he's gone, but there are no tracks.
There's no tracks
of a Bigfoot or anything.
Could have been a portal.
Very interdimensional is what it is.
I think it's interdimensional, but also Bigfoot related.
Yeah.
I know that one family in one of his books actually saw Bigfoot grab one of their children out of their trailer and run with it before they could get to him. And then when they got there, it was gone. Very strange.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Things that make you not want to go camping.
I don't want to go camping after
I don't. I got invited a couple of weeks ago to a bachelor's party to go camping, and there was a Bigfoot guide there and everything in the Chestnut Ridge here, where all these cases are. I said, I'm not going. I'm not going.
Thanks.
Oh, no, I know a dog man's out there now. Forget about it. I'm not going.
No, I don't do camping. Margie, about 10 years ago, you and Debbie Ziegelmeyer, you had a bunch of those cases with those very loud noises, like the sky was cracking and the earth was breaking. Do you ever figure out what that was? Was it just the tectonic plates moving? And I mean, people all over heard. It was heard at a baseball game in the Tampa Bay Rays. The announcer said, "What was that?" And you just heard like a weird sound.
Super, super loud, horrible sound, like you'd hear in the movies related to a spaceship, something like that. Yeah, that has happened in several of our cases, and she actually got a recording of one over her house.
Yeah.
And I remote viewed it, and I said, "That's a portal. That is a portal opening, 100%." That's what I think they are.
Oh, that could be. Yeah, I remember that. I was on the board of MUFON with Debbie at the time, and she was telling us, "What is this?" And she played that for us, and very, very strange.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Margie, what is exactly remote viewing? If someone doesn't know what that is,
well, it's in simple terms, it's sending your consciousness out to another time and space. And
is it meditation?
Well, you have to meditate to get to that point. And practicing meditation helps you learn how to remote view. In fact, I teach a course on it. And it's a matter of going through a process to practice. And it means discipline. You have to practice it every day. And I have my entire life. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm pretty good at it. And I will just send myself to an event, watch what happens. I can smell things, I can feel things, and I can hear. So I might hear names. I might see a car, might see a license plate. And most of the time, it's like really watching a videotape. I will see everything, and get extreme detail. There are some times where I can't see all of it, but I'll get some of it, and usually get enough information for somebody to, solve a case. I've done over 60 now, giving them enough information to solve a case. And it's usually a cold case. Unfortunately, if they would call me immediately after someone's missing, say, I should be able to help find where they are right at that minute, and then it could lead them to them, and maybe the person wouldn't come to their demise, which unfortunately most of my cases it's too late that I've done, but some not. Some they were able to be saved.
Fascinating.
And very interesting.
Let's go back to the first thing you described, that orb at the window shining a light in. Do you think that there's any relationship to that with the Foo Fighters from World War II? That maybe it's a technology that we acquired from the Nazis?
I've thought about that, and I've also just kind of have the general sense that they're like probes. Like they're a little probe going to check things out and then going back to the mothership.
Yep.
They shoot straight up, they go back, and they're seeing what's going on. These orbs or balls of light are just the biggest mystery of everything. I think there's so many of them, so many different colors, and then there's the spook lights, which is even more bizarre, like the one we have in Joplin, which is also called the Hornet spook light, and they're also at the Marley Woods and other places around the world, the Marfa lights, things like that, where there's just strange mystical lights that have been appearing for hundreds of years in the same place, and they'll get to a certain point, but then if you approach too close, you can't see it anymore. And if you back up, you can see it again. And you might have another team on the other side coming from the other direction, and they can see it, but if they get too close, they can't see it anymore. And so nobody's ever really been able to get close enough to figure out what these things are.
There are some people think that those are either spirits or angels or fallen angels. That's just kind of like how they transport or move in a quicker sense. That they're not have nothing to do with like extraterrestrials or probes, but they're just some spiritual thing. It's like a soul that's moving around.
I believe that too. I think some of them are. In fact, when my daughter was very young, she had surgery and she was in the recovery room, and I saw a ball of light come in through the wall, but there was a little tiny being in there with wings. And this ball of light went over her head, and she had a tumor taken off of her thyroid, and it was floating over that area for maybe 3-4 minutes, and then it left real slowly and went back out the wall. Now, what that was, I don't know. But
did it
Hmm?
cure her of that tumor, or was the tumor already removed?
No, the tumor had just been removed. The tumor had just been removed. I think it was responsible for helping her heal because they had said that they had to take out half of her thyroid and the tumor, and that she might not ever speak again because it affects the vocal cords. And so when she came home from the hospital, she couldn't speak for 6 weeks, but then her voice came back. And so that may have had something to do with it. I really felt like it was a fairy or an angel or something like that that was helping her out.
I asked that because when I was on the Anderson Cooper show in 2012, there were 2 girls on there that I was defending against Joe Nickel. And the one girl told, they claimed that they were in a spaceship and standing there naked, and they saw an ET, gray. And that at that point is when she realized it was the same ET that she saw about 10 years earlier. She was in a hospital for leukemia, was supposed to have a bone marrow transplant, and that ET came in, and she thought it was an angel. And she got cured. She didn't have to have the bone marrow transplant. So
Wow.
she saw the same one about 10 years later when she was 22. And when it touched her arm, she realized it was the same creature from 10 years earlier. So that's why I asked if it had cured her. But there are the strangest stories in this field. I mean, we could sit here and talk about this, and I'm sitting here thinking, like, one side of my brain's the UFO guy, the other side's the political guy. If the political people was tuned in and listened to this, they would think we're all nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they think we're nuts already. So.
Well, I'm just saying they don't believe a thing.
Left-brainers can't understand it.
That music,
Yeah, we have to take a real quick break for our commercial. I want to thank Carnation for sponsoring this second hour. Get yourself some Carnation Essentials. You'll enjoy it. We appreciate it. And thank you again, Carnation. There we go. It's a short break.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's just so much we can talk about.
How do you go about solving all the murder cases and all of that? I'm curious to dive into that a little bit.
Yeah.
You're on mute, Margie.
Margie, on mute.
You're on mute.
Sorry. How long is the show?
2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours. Okay. I thought it was 1 hour.
You don't have to stay for the full hour. We can.
That's okay.
We can wrap up.
Whatever you want. Yeah, and I can talk about a couple of interesting murder cases you won't believe.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, are we back on?
Yeah, we're back.
Yeah, we're on.
I thought you were going to have an intro and the music and all that.
Yeah, we did.
We did that already. See, you have missed. Now you have missing time. We already did all that.
I have missing time. Yeah,
we already did it all.
Well, we'll let you go after you can tell us one of your murder cases, and we'll let you go for the evening, and we'll catch you back.
I got a question after that though about Wentzville. I saw a UFO something in the paper, but go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I can stay as long as you want. Okay. My first murder case, I was working for we'll just say a bureau in a state near me. And they asked me to help on an unsolved case. The guy had been missing. They assumed he'd been murdered. They didn't know. And at that time, I had to go. I wasn't remote viewing. I had to actually go to a spot to tell, what happened. And so we're driving near St. Joe, Missouri, and in the car, and all of a sudden I tasted blood in my mouth. And when that happens, I know something bad has happened. And I said, stop the car right here. And I was just led over to this open field, but it had it was all dirt, but there was like this kind of driveway going into this field. And I told the guy I was with, the detective I was with, to get out and go because he was going to find some evidence there. I could sense evidence. And I said, The guy was taken by 2 other men in a vehicle. They took him to this spot. They killed him here, and then they took him somewhere else. So he stops the car. He gets out. He's looking around. He finds a big men's class ring on the ground. Takes it, and then we're driving again, and now we're going kind of into town. And I said, stop the car, because I felt over to my left there was a house. It was up on a hill, and I said, this guy has a connection to this house. He goes, yeah, the guy lived in that house. Had no idea beforehand, about it. So now he's kind of freaking out, this detective. We go back to the office and talking to the person in charge. And he says, where's the body? Can you find the body? And I said, well, let me take a look. Let me see. And I said, I can't see anything right now, but let me go home and sleep on this. So I meditated that night, and then I saw that he had been taken to a junkyard, and in the back left corner of the junkyard was a well, and his body was thrown in the well. And so I went back to the office and I said, you can see it, but you can only see it from the air where this well is, because they've got junk cars everywhere. And this is like in between a bunch of them. And there's a well there that even the owners of that place probably don't even know what's going on. I don't know. So they rented a helicopter and they went over that area and they found this round covering that was partially off. They said, I bet that's a well. So then they go and they get permission to go on the property. They go back there and open the well, and there is the body in the well.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And that was my first really big case. And that was in the 1980s. And I was remote viewing, but I didn't know what I was doing at the time. And then after I had got involved with Thor, my abilities increased quite a bit. And so now I can just stay home and just remote view anywhere. And I did, if you want to hear another case.
Before that other case, I would like to ask you, when you do a murder investigation, do you use psychometry?
No, I used to use psychometry. I used to need to have an item of clothing or a ring or something that the person owned, but I don't anymore.
Okay.
All I need to do is hear their name, and I tune into the vibration of their name.
Okay.
So this other case, and this has a happy ending, was one of the first ones I did in the 90s, that right around 93, I think. I had been doing psychic readings for a group of attorneys, and they were all women. And one evening, one of them called me and she said her niece was missing, didn't come home from school. And they were panicked, and it was 7:00 and she should have been home at like 2:30 or 3. I said, okay. And I'm thinking, what can I do? I'm on the phone with her. And I'm thinking, how can I find this girl? She was 14 years old. And all of a sudden I see this line come out of my solar plexus. And so I followed it. And then I'm standing on a street corner and I see these 2 street signs. I said, did this streets mean anything to you? She goes, yeah, that's her bus stop. I said, okay. So then I follow the line down the street, and then this house just lights up with gold all around it, this gold color. And I said, I read the address to her. She says, that is where we were today with the police, because there was a woman there who was 30 years old who had made friends with this 14-year-old girl at her bus stop. And they are wondering, that's kind of an odd thing. And so they questioned her, and then they left. So I said, okay, hang on. And all of a sudden I'm floating up in the air, go to the back of the house. There's a shed. And I I'm floating down inside the shed, and I see a girl, obviously drugged, knocked out, and she's tied up. She has duct tape on her mouth. So then I'm like, what in the world is going on here? So I backed up and went into the house. So I'm floating in the house, and I'm watching this woman with long stringy hair, and then another man in a chair, and another man in another couch. They've got beer and they've got drugs sitting out, and they're talking about how they've kidnapped this girl and they're going to sell her in the morning for $10,000.
Oh, God.
And she's leaving. She's going to be out of the country. So I tell this aunt, I said, you need to get over there right now. And she said, okay, I'm calling the detective. So she gets off the phone. She calls me later. She said she called the detective up. She says, I'm going back there. I know she's there. And they didn't even go in the house and search it. All they did was talk to this woman. And so they went there. He went with her. He said, I don't want to, but I'm going to. I'm not going to let you go by yourself. They went in the back. They found the girl, and they arrested the 3 people and, took them away. And the girl was saved. So to me, that was my first realization that, hey, this could really do some good. And so I do that kind of work at no charge if somebody needs help with that. I just feel like, I have this ability, so I need to use it for things like that.
Which is good, and I understand that. But if you do something for free, you have to get something in return in order to keep the energy moving.
I make enough from other ventures that I don't need to worry about that. And I do personal private readings. I charge for that.
Okay.
And, I've got other business ventures going on. So it's not like I need to have extra money. So I feel
I'm not
like
talking
I can
about
do
money.
that.
Not talking about money.
Oh, you mean in exchange of energy? Sure.
Yeah, that, or just like tell them, okay, in order to pay me back, can you make somebody smile today? Something.
Yeah. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Sometimes I do that.
Pass it forward.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's cool.
Margie, was there a case this week, maybe even a couple of days ago in Wentzville, Missouri? It looked to me like it was like a rocket launch, like a satellite launch or something. But people saw something in the sky. And I'm pretty sure it was over Wentzville. I saw that on Facebook or.
Yeah. I looked at it. It is not my case. And I have like 10 open cases right now for myself. So I have not had time to really go through all of these yet. But I will eventually get to it. I think I know the one you're talking about with the really good picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any cases in St. Charles? My daughter lives there. I'd like to tell her. Was there anything come to mind with St. Charles, Missouri?
Yes. I just had a woman tell me over the weekend at a fair I was doing in Kansas City that she and her whole family saw this craft just drop down from the sky, and then 6 smaller craft came out from around it. And she said they were just dumbfounded. They got pictures of it, and I think she has filed that, but she said she was from St. Charles.
Okay.
How's that?
Yeah. That is my phone, which is off. That is how this sort of thing happens.
So interesting.
The Tuesday Gremlins. They're attacking everything.
Yes.
Well, thanks so much for joining us tonight. We'll let you go for this night, and we'll love to have you back on the show again, Margie.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for sharing all your stories.
Thanks for having me on, guys. And if anybody has any questions, just go to my website, margiekay.com, and everything is there.
And say hello to Thor for us.
Yeah, tell him
I will.
Ask him what he thinks of the Thor movies. But say hello to Debbie Ziegelmeyer for me.
I sure will.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
No, bye.
That was very interesting. So, what are your thoughts?
In today's age, and different gifts that people have, I'm okay with it.
What about you, Jason?
I feel like, probably back in the 80s, it was looked at a little bit differently, just as ghost hunting and, UFOs and everything, it was more hush hush kind of deal. But with it being 2022, everything's on the forefront. There's shows about everything. Everybody's more open about it. So the abilities could very well, be real. And that was interesting about the solving the murder case ordeal. I've heard of that before, but never, got to talk to somebody or hear their side of the story fully, other than what you see on a documentary or something. So, like I said, it's hopefully she continues to use her gifts and help folks out and see where it goes.
John,
I want to see real proof. I've been doing this 24 years. I want to see the real proof. When when you talk, otherwise they're just good stories, and whether they're true or not true. But when somebody has a personal ability, I don't know if you're telling me the truth. I don't know if you're making stuff up. I don't know if you're delusional. But nobody else is seeing what you're seeing, but you're seeing stuff. But she does have those criminal cases, which are good. But in my world, I want to see definite proof. Otherwise it's just another good story.
Yeah, when I was doing you guys were discussing things, I looked up some more stuff on Val. But it says he was from Venus. Now,
right.
There can't be life on Venus, is it? Am I
underground.
correct?
He said he lived underground in Venus because of the atmosphere. That's a hard.
Even
That's
around Venus, or is it all gas?
I don't know. Who knows? But that's a hard one. When you talk about Venus, there's another guy we can get on the show, Dr. Ray Keller out of West Virginia. He'll do the show. He's written books on Venus Rising, that there's life there, and they come visit here. I don't know how. It's like 800 degrees. Sulfuric acid,
it's like I don't understand how that they can say that there's life on Venus.
But back then, Venus, like, what did they know? They're from Mars or they're from Venus, because those were the two closest planets. Now we say they're from Alpha Centauri or someplace.
Yeah. It's a lot of far-fetched. It's hard to
believe. All I know is that, I can understand these stories are coming from, but you know what? Who gives the information about these stories? I mean,
it's hard to make this stuff up,
Was there a guy that literally went to Venus and saw this dude or whatever? I mean, that dude could be from Hoboken, New Jersey or something like that.
I think the story came from Admiral Byrd's nephew, who was a military guy and part of Project Blue Book. And he actually I had the case number, I have it in one of my presentations. He put it in Project Blue Book, the Val Store case, for 3 years, exactly 3 years. He was at the Pentagon dealing with Nixon and Eisenhower and all of this stuff. And there's a case number in Blue Book, and it's in there. But again, he's a military guy working for Blue Book. And if he wants to cover things up and make things up, he'll put that case in Blue Book. They never put Kecksburg in Blue Book. And that was one of the best documented cases, witnesses and everything. But they didn't bother with that one.
Yeah.
But I thought you didn't really think about Kecksburg. You thought that was a farce. Am I right?
Well, no, it happened, but it just wasn't alien. Fred Saluga claims it's that Russian Cosmos 96. And he did a whole bunch of research, but I still stick to it being a spy satellite. Stan Gordon says it's an alien craft, but something did land. What they described and everything that happened did happen. It wasn't made up. It did happen. It's just a matter of what was the origin.
What was it?
But there's a big case that you got the military, the NASA, Air Force, Army. We found the Army officer. I mean, if that's not in Blue Book, what should be in Blue Book? You have all the makings there of it's a government investigation. Should have been in Blue Book. Wasn't in Blue Book. So that tells me they knew what it was. It wasn't alien. It was either the Russian spy satellite or ours that came down. And they just covered it up.
I don't know. This Val guy, he just reminds me of that Ashtar command. It's like...
Yeah.
But he has no blonde hair.
Well,
he has blonde hair.
He lives 400 years. He has one lung. He has no fingerprints. I looked into this.
It's like a fairy tale, like a sci-fi.
How do you prove any of it? That's I don't know.
Unless you end up meeting him up with him. What is he going to do?
I feel like UFOs are probably more difficult to prove are real than spirits and ghosts.
I agree with you.
I agree with you on that.
I think the ghost hunting spirit world is more provable, and you can get evidence and you can get recordings and all of that. And the UFOs has mostly been personal stories and things. And these people even passed lie detectors, so something happened, But where's the guy? Where's the DNA? Where's a piece of the craft? Or we never get the hard evidence in the UFO cases. Very rarely.
Do you think there is hard evidence out there?
Yeah, there is. UFOs? I mean, we got trace evidence out of that Bucks County case. We got two. We got trace evidence on the trees, but that turned out to be that it was ours, the TR3B. From what she described, that's exactly what Denise saw. But then there was the other case with radar. I mean, they got radar of something with no transponder. I mean, you can't. The best description was somebody said, having it that near Philadelphia airspace, 10 miles away, it would be like you getting on the turnpike in the wrong direction and driving. There's no transponder. The other planes don't know it's there until they see it or hit it. There are cases. There are some that leave radiation, but what is it? What is it? We never find out. And the modern stuff is mostly ours, I believe. But then I can't explain the stuff from the 40s and 50s. That's not ours.
No.
Who knows?
Probably never will find out.
Now,
unless they want us to know. Unless they want us to.
And then, can you believe them? Can you believe them? I have a credibility problem with the government and the Pentagon. And if they're telling me this is time to tell you, they're covering something up. This is a false flag.
Now, I was talking to a guy at work, and he told me about a story about a UFO going down in the Kinzu Dam. Is that true?
Yeah, there was one up there. I don't remember that story. I never investigated. It's not in my book, UFOs Over Pennsylvania. But I know that there was a story of UFO going down in Kinzu. There was also that plane here in Pittsburgh. Remember, in the Three Rivers that crashed, and the thing disappeared.
Yeah.
Well, I ride my jet skis, and the one has a Lowrance. The river's only 26 feet deep. If the landing gear is down, those planes are more than 26 feet high. So where'd it go? The thing disappeared.
Poof, disappeared.
Well, they couldn't find it.
Well,
they claim they took it to Bettis. That's a government, very secret government facility, a little down the river there by the FedEx Neville
down
Island.
There, but Bettis was what, in West Mifflin?
Yeah, somewhere over there. Yeah, but they do a lot of top secret stuff.
Okay.
Interesting.
Anytime I go through Connellsville, I'm still looking for UFOs.
Why Connellsville?
Because was it a couple guests we had were talking about all the sightings that were happening over Connellsville on Route 119, and that just coincidentally happens to be a road that I was traveling daily for 2 years, 2.5 years. Not so much right now, but I never saw anything, unfortunately.
I've never seen one. Jen, were you involved with that woman in Murraysville 10 years
I wasn't
ago?
I wasn't like, that's the big thing about MUFON. I was you and Fred. Yeah. I was never friends with her. She just sent me some photos, some videos, and she did see something. I mean, I've seen what she's seen. I don't know. They were near an old I think it was an old mine where she lived.
A Nike site was over there on a golf course, and
not so much of a Nike site. It was down by the off of Duff Park. There's a park there.
I went to her house one night. I was sitting my home theater watching Transformers, and I was enjoying the movie. And she calls me and says, "John, you got to get over here right now." So I turn the movie off. I drive to her house. She had more equipment than any MUFON person I had ever met.
Yes, she has a lot of equipment.
Yeah, night vision, high-end stuff, And she goes, "We're going to watch in that direction, right, west." And every light that she saw said, "See that? That's a UFO." I said, "Okay, let's keep an eye on it till it gets over us." and they were planes and they were helicopters.
Yeah.
And
she said they morphed into something.
So you missed your movie to look at planes and helicopters.
Yeah. Well, she said that it was a
feel?
UFO, but when it got over us, in particular, it morphed into a plane and a helicopter. Now, the Transformers movie, they do morph into cars and other things. So, I mean, well, I spent 2 hours with her, and I saw nothing but planes and helicopters.
Did you finish the movie when you got home?
Yeah, I ended up. Yeah, I had to put it back.
Allison Cruz has tons. If you go to YouTube, she has tons of videos of these. She believes that they're morphing. I mean, I seen something come up to I'm not kidding you. I was outside, and this craft came. It just went real fast near me, and then it went back. It was not a drone. It just came out of nowhere. Huh. Seriously.
Was it really big? Was it a big thing? Small, what, medium?
It was like a craft. It looked like, first I thought it was just a star, but it came way into view, and then it just went as fast as it came, it left. So what the heck was that? And I lived in the same area. We lived in the same area. Mm. It's freaked my dog out. I don't know what it was, but it left.
What got you into MUFON?
No, got me into MUFON was when my son had an experience. A light came in the room when he was 6 years old. And then we moved up in this area. There was just farmland. And I seen these lights in the sky. I mean, there was like 6 of them together in a formation. And they left. And I videotaped it, but who knows what happened to that videotape. It was when they had the VHSs.
VHS, what's that?
When I went
just kidding.
When I went to Allison's house, she had cameras and monitors, and she was recording constantly. And she claims to see all of these things, but I said, well, you have all of this DVDs. Show me one, but she couldn't show me anything recorded yet. She's got cameras all outside of our house.
You go to YouTube, you can see them. They're on there.
She told her daughter told a pretty good story that she was on the phone with her boyfriend about a mile away, and it was kind of like a gully or a valley there, and they saw a craft just hovering, and the 2 kids, they were like 12, they ducked down, below the windows because they were afraid, and then when they got back up to look, the craft was gone.
Yeah, a lot of strange things happened too. There's a metal sheep. What do they call them? Sheet metal places. Sheet metal. In Jeanette, Pennsylvania. A lot of the owners saw something up that way, and they got really sick the next day because they went outside to look at it, and they were all sick. So I don't know what that was. And if you go on MUFON, I'm not sure what case it was, but you can look it up. It happened in Jeanette, PA, at the sheet metal factory. I don't know what you want to call it.
What's it, Jeanette Glass you're talking about? Or
it's not the Jeanette Glass. It's a recycling where they recycle metal.
It's in Jeanette
Scrapyard. Yeah, that was in a metal scrapyard. And that's.
Do you know the name of it? Because I wonder if I take stuff there.
It's in Jeanette. It's the only one I can think. It's the only one that's in Jeanette. It's like Grapeville, maybe over by Grapeville. If you're still a member, you could probably look it up. If you're still, I don't know if you have that. If you're in the,
I don't even have my ID anymore.
Yeah, I don't even know what my ID is anymore.
Jay, that picture that you caught in Gettysburg, do you still have it?
Yeah, I got it somewhere on my computer. I think I have 1 or 2 of it. I'll have to send it to Jenny for next week or the week after.
Yeah, because
I gotta do some digging because I'm not sure what that was.
I know. We definitely know it wasn't a bird.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was tall, kind of like cylindrical looking, and I was just like, I don't know what that is, but it's not a bird. So I'll have to see if I can find it and get you guys' opinion.
There was a friend of mine. She went camping down around Confluence, down there, and they were staying in a trailer, and she sent me a message at like 1 a.m. saying there's something pounding on her thing, on her
trailer.
Yeah, and it scared the crap out of her. Is there like Bigfoot apparent presence down in that area?
Down
Something
where?
that. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, could it have just been an animal? Because they're they're known to come up to campsites or whatever, and they can usually sound pretty big, even though they're small.
Could be.
I
But it really freaked her
I
out.
played a prank on some raccoons once. We were camping and the little buggers kept getting in the trash and all this other stuff, and we were making mountain pies, and they're just tearing the place up. So the last night we were there, the first mountain pie usually always ends up burnt. So you pitch it, whatever. So I put it in a box and I taped it up just enough so they could smell it. So it's like 3 a.m. You hear all this scuffling and rustling around. It's a mama raccoon and like 3 or 4 little babies trying to get in this box. The mama raccoon, this is no joke, grabbed the box and took off with it. She took the whole box. I mean, it wasn't very big, but still, it was hilarious. I don't know if they ever got the mountain pie out there.
I'm gonna try playing one of your EMFs, but I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear it. So we're gonna try. Tell me if you can hear this one. Can you hear that?
No.
I could send you the files for next week in the email.
Can you hear that?
No.
Nope.
You can't hear it.
Those are some awesome EVPs.
So you can't hear it.
They were good.
All right. For some reason, you can't hear it.
Remind me, and I'll email them to you for next week. We could check them out.
All right.
Do we have a guest for next week?
Not yet.
Q&A.
I was
it worked last time.
Fred and Kathy Lane up in Erie. I was talking to them last week. They said, "Oh, we'll do your show." But let me ask them if they can be on next Tuesday.
Now, who are they?
Who are they?
They were MUFON investigators. They still are. They're on the abduction research team. Fred was a witness to the 1966 Presque Island case. I don't know that they could talk for a full hour, but we could have them on.
Yeah, that would be good.
Could do that.
We have 30 minutes left. So, what are we going to talk about, boys?
Haunted houses are open already.
Yeah.
For Halloween.
The one at South Park is.
100 Acres Manor is always ranked, I think, #1 in Pittsburgh.
I'm not really into those things.
Have you ever been to that? I haven't.
What, 100 Acres Manor?
Yeah.
Oh, I used to go every year, and then once I started getting a little bit older and started working and have some money, I started paying for the VIP tickets because standing in that line really sucks.
Okay.
And standing in line, I think, it's good if you're in high school or whatever, hanging out with all your buddies or friends and you get some coffee or whatever and just chill out. But when you get older, you just want to get in, check it out, and, not wait in line for 3 hours. But I seen the Scare House in, where's that up? But I can't think of it.
Oh, it's up in Monroeville Mall, I think. Is it Monroeville Mall?
No. It's down something.
Pittsburgh Mills.
Yes. My son used to work there.
So apparently it's supposed to be getting pretty good finally, I guess. I don't know. Might be worth checking out.
I wasn't ever into that. I hated when he worked there.
Why? But I did see that.
Because it's not safe. It's not. None of those are safe.
Event called Lights Out. I didn't know about.
What's that?
100 Acres Manor has this event called Lights Out. I think they only do it a couple times through the whole season, where you'll have your group of people and the lights in the entire complex are off, and they give you one single candle to go through the whole haunted house.
Oh my God!
How awesome would that be? It sells out. Like I wish that would be amazing.
Well, you know what? There's a boss where I work at, and he runs the parking out there at 100 Acre Manor, and due to that shooting out in Kennywood, for their Fright Night out there, they're adding on extra people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
security.
I tell you, the best haunted house I went to with my kids, maybe they were around 10, 12, something like that. It was up in Niagara Falls. And it was on the Canadian side. I remember right past a railroad track, and then there was a street. You go to this haunted house, And the way they tricked you was on the ceiling was a red light spaced out about 10 feet. So you're focusing on the light. So you know where to turn, you're looking for the light, but then everything else is grabbing your legs, popping out, the chainsaw, but your attention is on this light. And it was the coolest way to distract you and then scare you. It was a really good haunted
That
house.
would be like, wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever come close to hitting somebody, Jason, in the house?
Like freaking out and like taking a
Yeah,
swing at the
like
actors?
really just got into your face.
No, me personally, no, I haven't, because usually at those haunted houses, believe it or not, I really don't get scared. But there was one time I was going through a haunted house. This was years ago, and somebody jumped out, scared somebody else, and the person pulled out a knife and like went after the dude, and then there's just a whole flock of people just tackling him down and cops.
I mean, it's like this is a haunted house.
It's a
with
haunted
an
house.
actor.
What are you doing?
Why would you go after him with a knife? There are crazy people out there.
I know. I don't think they're safe at all. It's not my idea of.
Do you think you could disappear in there, Jenny? Like they could?
No, I just don't think that they're. I think they're not safe. There are fire hazards. You can get, like, I know when I was a kid,
Mold.
We had a stabbing at the haunted house where I used to go when I was a kid. It's like a young girl was stabbed. It's not safe.
Yeah.
Especially this day and age. I don't think it's safe.
Do you remember?
Yeah, but going to school and wherever else isn't safe either.
Yeah.
Churches aren't safe.
Yeah, but I think they're a fire hazard. And I know that one castle in New Jersey, that haunted castle that burnt down, killed I think it was 54 kids.
Really?
It's not safe. Yeah, it's been like, oh my God, probably about 20 years now. Look it up.
Do you remember the movie from 1980, Funhouse?
Oh wow,
that sounds familiar. Yeah,
I wasn't even around yet, John.
Yeah, where they go in, you weren't born yet. Yeah, when they go into the arcade that's in town, whatever, and they go into the fun house.
I think I know what you're
talking about.
Killer
in there. Remember, that was a cool movie. I remember that one from 1980. That was one of my favorites back then.
What did you all think about Friday the 13th? Did you guys watch those movies?
The entire series?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Of course.
Well, the first couple are good, but then it goes on forever.
Exactly.
Like the other two characters, you never, Halloween.
First one is good.
Another Halloween just come out, or
Halloween ends. Hopefully that means it's over.
Yeah, I think the first one is
12
good.
Of them,
it gets to be overrated. But real quick, I want to mention on October 23rd, between 1 and 3, Carol Oakley, she was on the show. She's a medium. She was on the show probably about 2 years ago. And she's a fabulous medium, and she's a local. And she's going to be at Nicasio Fields in Westmoreland County. If anybody's interested, you can go to her website, soulvision.net, and go to the events link, and you can buy tickets. It's going to be a group event, and those are really cool. So I think anybody would like to go who's looking to talk to or get communication with a loved one that passed. This is a really good way to do it. And like I said, the tickets are $50, and you can just go to her website. I wanted to make sure I mentioned it. I'm going to mention it every week so people can get the word out. So if you're in the Pittsburgh area, it's a good afternoon, and it's in October, and hopefully they have a beautiful landscaping. There'll be a bonfire outside if it's warm. I mean, if it's too cold, they won't do it. They'll go inside. I just wanted to mention that real quick, guys.
You gonna have like apple cider and stuff like that?
We might have some we might have some hot chocolate and apple cider. Oh, okay. But it should be a nice afternoon. And she's really good, and she's so interesting. But I just wanted to.
Yeah, she's a nice lady.
Yeah, she is.
Kathleen Wilson said there was a movie in 2018 called Hellfest, where it's a killer in a haunted attraction. Do you all watch that?
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
No, I don't remember that one.
Mm-mm.
There's There's a lot of scary real life stories, like the Jeffrey Dahmer story that's on Netflix.
Are you watching
that? Gave me the creeps. I watched it and I had nightmares.
Did you? I stayed. That's one of the few I'm not watching, but I may go back and end up watching.
Yeah, watch it. It's amazing because they did it so well that the court case, they actually, if you go to Google, you can Google search it. They have them side by side, the reenactment from the movie, the series, and real life. The sister to one of the victims, she did it. It's amazing. It's like real life. I mean, they did such a fantastic job.
If you want to watch a good movie on Netflix, put on The Old Guard. Old Guard. Yeah, Charlize Theron. Really good movie. Very good movie. They're like immortals. They eventually die, but they're immortals, and they've lived through every time period, every war, and they try to do good things. And it's a group of 5 or 6 now, but then there's a pharmaceutical trying to get their DNA. But it was a really good movie. There's a part 2 coming out. I just saw it being advertised that they're making a part 2, and Uma Thurman's going to be in there with her. And
that's on Netflix.
Yeah. It was a 2018 or 2020. I think it was 2018 was the first one. It's weird. I just watched it. It's 4 years old, and then you get your phone. They know everything that you watch and everything you do because it's all linked. And there it is. Boom. Old Guard 2 is being made. And there's the interviews. So
it's kind of scary how they can reach.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I'm looking to book a vacation, so I just kind of pulled up not Reno, Lake Tahoe, right? And I'm just looking to see the area, what's to do. And every time I get on my laptop,
John.
I don't go camping. There's a bear out there. I'm not doing that. but no, every time I put my laptop on and I go there, you have the tiles, Lake Tahoe, Lake Tahoe, Lake Tahoe. They monitor every single thing you do.
Since we have a few,
I'm sure a lot of fans are wondering what you're going to do with your retirement from the paranormal. Do you have plans? I remember you talking about, prospecting for gold in the past, or what? Do you have any big plans?
It's going to be a MUFON investigator
since retiring.
That's what he should do.
UFOs.
No thanks.
You know what? Actually doing gold prospecting, but you know what? I'm taking Jenny's advice, and I'm going to write a book.
Good, there you go.
And about it, and
that'll fill up a lot of your time.
I got a title for you: Pittsburgh Paranormal Society.
No, it's just coming down to the end. I mean, it's just too much. I'm just tired. Doing it for since 2006. I just had enough. Just like you, John, when you retired from MUFON.
Yeah, I still end up doing conferences and stuff.
I do conferences, if I do some speaking engagements, that's what I got 3 of them in October, and that will be it.
Okay. I was going to say, put together a good PowerPoint, and then when we do our next one, we'll have you do that,
I don't know how to do PowerPoint
presentation.
Well, I don't know if you can, but like, do you have anything really to show?
Real quick. I know you want to talk more about your prospects there, but there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the news right now. I don't know if you guys are aware of what happened with the pipeline in Russia.
Yeah, I heard I think the Russians blew it up to cut Europe off because something big is going to go down.
Apparently, that's not what Tucker Carlson said.
Oh,
what did he say?
He said that according to his people, that Biden, somebody on our side, on the United States, sabotaged the Nord Stream pipeline in Russia. And right now there's warships in Chinese and Russian warships near Alaska. So I don't know what the heck's going on, but it's kind of scary.
But why would we blow up that pipeline that feeds Europe?
I'm not really sure. I guess because of what happened with Ukraine. Apparently, back in February, Biden said that he would do something like that if Russia invaded Ukraine. I don't know why he would do it now.
Yeah.
But it's kind of scary. I'm just reading the Twitter feed right now about the Russian warships in China and in the Chinese. I guess.
Well, that's a concern because
Russia. It is a concern.
Well, Russia and China did have a meeting before Russia invaded the Ukraine, so I'm confident that they discussed these scenarios and whether they think Biden's weak enough as the president for an attack. Because if you're ever going to do something, this would be the time.
Yeah, and it just said it's Justin from Fox News. Chinese Russian warships spotted near Alaska.
Maybe they're looking for oil.
U.S. warships are off the coast of how many countries? It's really. The thing is, I just saw that before we started the show, but Tucker Carlson had mentioned about the Nord Stream pipeline was sabotaged.
So do you think World War III is coming?
Well, they have the capability. Russia with their nukes wouldn't be surprised if they did something stupid, but then they're just going to kill us anyways. I mean, they're going to kill their own people if they would do something like that.
I don't know how you can win something like that.
You can't win a war with nuclear weapons. You can't. No one's a winner.
Yep.
Somebody, it's just. I hate hearing stuff like that before you go to bed.
War. Huh, John? What do you think?
What's that?
It's like the Cold War.
Yeah, well, no, they're strategizing. Regardless of what people think of Trump, none of this would be happening if Trump was in office because he did win the second term. But they see Biden, as inept. His mind isn't there quite right, and they're looking at. But they don't. They should understand that the U.S. isn't like their countries where you got the one person in charge because he's a tyrant and it's totalitarian. You still got all the generals and all the other people and the Congress people and the Senate. Even if Biden is not there half the time, you're not going to get away with anything. You got NORAD, you got everything else monitoring. It's not like Biden sitting there at his laptop with all the buttons. He ain't doing any of that. He's going to get a phone call and tell them, hey, this is what's going on. And then they'll get the Joint Chiefs and they'll discuss it. So it's not a one-man show.
What time is it in Alaska right now?
Probably 4 or 5 hours. Yeah.
4 hours.
Ahead of us?
Behind us.
Behind, yeah.
Behind us. That's crazy.
Well,
can you imagine living like...
There's somebody there listening and they could chime in.
Yeah. I went to Alaska. You were going to talk about the daylight and the 30 days a night and all of that?
I don't think that was a good movie, though.
Yeah, that was a great movie. Sometimes these movies, they come out with such a good idea. You've had vampire movies for 100 years here, pretty much, and nobody ever thought to do one in Alaska when it's night for a month.
What's the name of that show?
30 Days of Night.
30 Days of Night.
It's an older movie.
And
it's what, the early
30
2000s
days
or something like that?
Yeah, it was a great movie. That was awesome. Really good movie. But you think about it. The vampires are out for 30 days, 24 hours. It was a great idea. It's like Jurassic Park, the mosquito in the amber. What a great idea. And that's how you genetically bring them back, the dinosaurs. I mean, sometimes they have some great ideas for these movies.
They do. That was a good one. How did you see the Midnight Mass on
Oh yeah, I saw
Netflix? That was good.
Yeah, Midnight Mass was good. But Sean, were you going to ask something about Alaska with the light and the dark? Were you about?
Yeah, exactly. You were mental telepathing me what I was going to say.
I went to Alaska in Anchorage, and it was light when I was there, like past midnight. It was so hard to sleep. I ended up in the hotel room. I got extra pillows. I took everything out of the closet, whatever I could do to stuff the windows so the light didn't come in. Because it's like it's 11:30 and I was there when it was like 20 hours of light. It was terrible.
I'm sorry, this guy really pisses me off.
Yeah. How did he get back on again?
I don't know. My Lord is not Satan, Wesley.
Wesley Curry.
Where'd you come up with that one, Wesley?
Why do you feel that we're Satan worshipers? I'd just like to know.
I'm one of the most religious people you run into.
I know. It's so ridiculous.
Oh, it's another name called Baal, B-A-L-L.
That's another name for Satan. But do you know what? The barium and the aluminum, what is that? They're spraying the crops with that. But he said that. I just had to say.
Well, with October around the corner, a couple of days this weekend, do you know what areas have the most children disappear? And it happens to be the month of October. Where in the country do the most children kidnappings take place? What two locations in the country?
Utah and Missouri, Michigan. Utah.
Michigan. The Dogman in Michigan and the Mormons in Utah. No.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, and it makes a lot of sense, it's Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles. And if you think of the these groups, the satanic groups, all that crap that goes on, you got the politicians and you got the Hollywood people, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit if they don't do sacrifices and that they're not actually praying for power and money and all of this. But it's kind of interesting, and people think October is the witching month and the haunted month. It really isn't. I know in the demonology side, you get to Halloween night, right? But then it's All Saints Day the next day.
Yeah.
It is the month of November that has the most demonic infestation, poltergeist activity. The portal opens. And, I love Halloween, but when you think about it, everybody is dressed in these characters and we're all out partying and you're doing all of this for Satan is what you do. Really, when you get down to it, Halloween is a ritual for Satan. So then on November 1st, that's really when it opens up for his, the fallen angels, the watchers, all of that, the demons, and it's actually the month of November that has the most infestations and if you had to do an exorcism, it's the month of November that's going to cause it.
Why is Halloween demonic?
Well, if you go back to Sam Hain and all of those, it was something done. It was done for crops and all of that stuff. For the end of the season.
Let me see.
What is that?
He's listening to the chat, the Wesley Curry.
Yeah, no, there's some. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the whole history of it, but I think it had to do with crops and stuff. But it's definitely Halloween is absolutely a day for spirits and the devil and demons. There's no doubt in my mind that that's what Halloween is.
All I know is Halloween is fun. I look forward to it the most.
Yes.
And love the candy the day after on sale.
Yeah. Yeah,
but I thought Halloween was that you wore masks so that
to scare the ghosts, to scare the demons. That's why they got dressed up.
That's what I thought.
Do you know in Ireland, the original pumpkin, they used to be turnips. They used turnips instead of pumpkins.
It is a whole history to Halloween. We should probably look that up for one of the shows coming up since it's 4 weeks away, 5 weeks.
We could do that. That'd be cool. Have a show on Halloween.
Well, there's a whole history to it, the history behind Halloween and what everything means, But I remember Word of Life, the pastor 2 years ago, he was telling us, don't celebrate Halloween. He says, you're making a mistake because you're opening it yourself up with the Halloween celebration. It's not a celebration to God or Jesus. It's a celebration to the devil.
I thought it was just a celebration to get candy.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think we can look it up, but I think there's a lot more to it.
Well, speaking of witching hours, we got to,
Kathleen says we should do a Halloween theme show.
Yes, Kathleen, you're right.
We will. Well, we're going to have to get the guests for next week. So we're just going to start playing our music and get the heck out of here. But thank you so much for tuning in to Chasing Prophecy on the UPRN Radio Network, FM 105.3 New Orleans.
4 o'clock comes early.
Yes, it
4
does.
o'clock comes early.
All right, guys. Good night. Thank you for
Okay.
watching.
See ya.